I think at the risk of sounding like we're all in this together, like until we're all free, none of us are really all that free. Like it's just a true statement. You know what I mean? I think often when we talk about homophobia and we talk about the fear of queerness and all these things, it's not as silo or as individual as we think it is.
Welcome back to the Express Yourself Black Man podcast. My name is Kizzle or Kofi, and I'm a mental health advocate, public speaker, and founder of a Kizzle brand, which is a project aimed at raising awareness for depression and helping people through difficult times. Studies show that on average, men lose 2.8 years of their life when they're under heavy stress. The point of this podcast is for me to gain those 2.8 years back. As a black man, society often tries to tell me what I can't do, or talk about, which can often leave me feeling trapped. And so this podcast is my release. Obio.
What's going on, brother?
How are you doing? I'm good, man. So, man, it has been a day for me, man.
What's happening? What's going on?
So I put up the post. I said, black man, there's nothing wrong with being gay, right?
Uh-oh.
And when I was writing the caption, I was like, man, I should probably tell people don't be homophobic under this post and blah, blah, blah. I was like, you know what? I don't even feel like doing all that right now. So I put the post up, and then all of a sudden I start getting comments like, well, this is one post I don't agree with because black men are not supposed to be gay. Man can't love man. And how are we supposed to repopulate the earth when we have all these gay men, and I see you roll your eyes because that's the response I have at this point too. It's like, it's the same argument over and over and over again. And honestly, it's so repetitive and dried out, and it's lazy. Honestly, like the logic to me just doesn't make sense anymore. When you really start to challenge these thoughts, they really don't make sense. And I think a lot of times the problem is, as a straight black man, we live in a society where oftentimes we are not forced to challenge this kind of rhetoric, right? So as a result, in our groups and social circles and social media, it just gets spewed over and over and over and over and over again until the point it becomes like culture or fact. And nobody goes and checks it. Nobody has conversations with gay black men because the whole thought process is gay black men aren't men. That's at the root of it, basically. It's like, gay black men aren't men. Why would I talk to them? They would never understand me because I'm a man and they're not. And also being gay is wrong. And so I'm just for me, I kind of went on a little rant on my story, just talking about just the fact that a lot of people, they try to throw the Bible into it and they say God says that, we shouldn't be gay. And my whole thought process around that is, well, God says, the Bible says a lot of stuff. The Bible says a lot of stuff about masturbation, sex before marriage, all of these things that are considered adultery that we engage in, but we never call other people out for that. But as soon as we talk about gay black men, it's like, oh, wait a minute. Did you read this in the Bible? It says that we shouldn't, right? You get what I'm saying? It's just, I don't know. It just gets annoying. So today has been kind of and this is just one day for me. So this is what I'm saying, one day for me, right? So I can only imagine. Only imagine your experience. I can only imagine. So yeah, I don't know.
I get it. I think you said so many things that are good to talk about, because I think in retrospect, you said a lot of people view gay men as not men, right? But I think in that same rhetoric, we're not men when it's convenient for cishet people, right? Because they know when to honor our manhood, right? We're men. If a gay man hits a woman, we're a man again, right? Because a man shouldn't hit women. So then we're a man again, right? When it comes time for strength displays, when it comes time for patriarchy to kick in, we're a man again. And so I think, or when it was time to choose what bathroom to go to, now we're being political about when you're, so again, when we're men, and when to honor our manhood. I think the reality is a lot of people are afraid of people having personal agency. Society rules off of rules. And if you eliminate rules, then what happens? Because a lot of what affects queer people trickles down to affect straight people. And I think that's what needs to be heard, right? This idea that all these things only affect gay people. But the policing of queerness affects the policing of men in general, because we are men. Gay men are men, right? And outside of behavior, outside of orientation, we are men. And so when it comes time for men to be clocked, and people are obsessed with this idea of figuring out who's gay and who's not, it then places the emotions, the personalities of straight men, which doesn't allow straight men to cry, to feel, to hurt, to be sad, to be insecure, to be all the emotions that are indicative of people, and not just queer people, but people in general. And again, it affects you. So now you have a lot of these men who are crying to cry, who are crying to feel, who are yearning for some space in which they can feel and receive empathy and all these things that people are not affording them because we've assigned that to queer folks. And now you have, again, cishet men who are buying and hoping and making posts now to say, ladies, compliment your man. He needs to hear it. But no. You said that was queer. Ladies, men, men need to, no. You can't pick and choose when you decide you want to dip in our pond and dip out of it. So which one is it? Let's be honest. So reality, and a lot of people are not homophobic because a lot of people have homosexual friends. A lot of people are femphobic, which is a whole separate conversation, right? Because even with me, I've had some people, I wish all gay guys acted like you. Not a fact. All gay guys should not act like of anything, right? We're all individuals. All straight guys shouldn't act like all straight guys, nor should all queer guys. But I think with this idea that gay is this, straight is this, woman is this, male is this, you know what I mean? And this is a whole conversation about all these binaries that are too specific to allow people to exist in their fullness. And so you have gay guys who are more often than not these days existing in full, and a lot of people are uncomfortable. So they're pulling at straws. Where can I find some way to invalidate him to continue to validate me? Because a lot of guys are under the impression that if you grow too big, I have to then get smaller to make space for you to be big when we can all be big together. So it's like, I can't allow queer people, Lil Nas X, queer people, Wanda Sykes, whoever it is, to then be too loud because then what happens to my voice. But we're here to tell you, no one's trying to erase heterosexuality. No one's trying to erase binaries if that fits for you. We're trying to say we're here too. Likewise with the conversation, like no one's asking for pity. We're saying we've always been here. We're going to continue to be here. And don't use the Bible in silo. Don't use, a patriarchy in silo, misogyny in silo, anti-feminism in silo. Like, be honest with thyself because you didn't clock your homeboys for doing a lot of things the Bible didn't say, your parents didn't say, grandma made fun of. And none of those things matter then. It so happens to matter when people are queer.
Man, wow. Let me just take some time to just digest that. You really just went off, man. I'm not gonna honestly, like, I'm just sitting here listening and I'm just learning. And I think this is what's so powerful about the conversation. I think this is also something that we are missing in our community. Like, I guarantee you, if you were to go poll like 10 straight black men and say, hey, do you have conversations with gay black men? Or when was the last time you had a conversation with a gay black? Like I get like probably like 8 or 9 out of those 10 will be like, no, I don't talk to gay black men. Like, wow, I don't even remember the last time, because we just don't have these conversations. And it's also similar to like us not talking to black women outside of if we want to date her, or sexually or whatever the case may be. And it's always so obvious to me when I have conversations with straight men that either one, don't talk to black women or don't talk to gay black men. Because if you have these conversations with gay black men or black women, you start to realize your thought process is a little bit flawed and it's a little bit closed-minded. And this is something I talked about on my page. I said I grew up homophobic, right? Like, I grew up in a Christian household. What was drilled into me is being gay is a sin, just like for most other people that grow up in a Christian household. Being gay is a sin. Is almost like the ultimate sin that a man can commit, basically, right? And so it wasn't until I went into college and started seeing like gay black men and started having to interact with them that I started realizing, like, yo, there's no difference. Like, there really is no difference. Why are we so hell bent on not accepting someone else identifying as gay? And then that's what opened up a lot of things for me. And I started to challenge a lot of the ideas and things that I was taught growing up. But it's just a lot of people, they don't have these conversations with other people, with other demographics. Yeah. They stay inside of their box and they only talk to straight black men. And when that happens, you have a skewed perspective of just the world in general. And that's one of the main reasons why in the page I say all black people to express themselves healthily. I don't say black men. I don't say straight black men. I say all black people, because the whole point is to create a community so that we can have these conversations. it doesn't help me to only talk to straight black men. You get what I'm saying? Like, it just does not help, because the perspective is not going to be the same if it's coming from a black woman or a gay black man. And now I'm missing out on valuable perspective or insight that can help to shift the way I view certain things.
I think we generalize people so often, right? Like, even this idea, like me, I'm not indicative of every gay voice. You're not indicative of every straight voice, right?
Right.
Like, you know, and then even like when it comes to honoring people's humanity, like you grew up homophobic, so did I.
Mm-hmm.
So do most people.
Mm-hmm.
And so the reality is the difference is you did extra work, or you did what would be admirable to then become an ally, or to then, you know what I'm saying, not be homophobic anymore. But a lot of us have rejected self. So our journey to like self has to then eliminate homophobia from who we are, which is also a very different conversation, right? Because it's not just, I'm gonna throw somebody a bone, or gay people are nice, I'll be nice to them. Now, if I can still go back to my privileged land of straightness, I can go back to my privileged land of manhood. It's like, well, I have to live within this body that people are saying is wrong. Then also, you grow up with religion, you go with all these things, you go seeing TV, and a lot of people feel like I was in church, we assume, we hope we're in church and the preacher doesn't bash gay people. Forget it if you like talk about us in a great way. Just don't bash us, and we'll come here, we'll praise dance, and we'll shout, and then we'll hope to go home comfortably. But imagine growing up and never seeing you. And so you have all these people who grew up never seeing themselves outside of porn, and then you ask them to grow up and then exist in the light, and then when we do, we're bashed some more. So it's like, where do you want us to go? And then we had this conversation about, like, you know, your page is this, especially of black men, right? And it's like, does that include us? And this isn't a question for you, right? But it's like, you know, a lot of us are asking because in our experience, we have been almost othered outside of what black men looks like, right? It's like there's black men, then there's gay black men, but the two are not synonymous.
Right.
And it's like, at what point do we then decide that my manhood is honored? Is it because I'm masculine enough for you today? Am I straight passing enough? Do I not bring my boyfriend around? Do I not say things about me being gay? You know, but we don't talk about it. Like, what is the expectation of queer people, right? That's the bigger conversation I want to have too. Like, what do people want queer guys to do? Even when you know it. I have friends who would say things like, you know, I don't agree, but you my boy. I don't know if you're gonna disagree with who I am, but still be friends with me. I don't know. But again, a lot of us to exist have had to allow a lot of homophobia internally and externally, because it came from our parents, it came from our brothers, it came from our teachers, it came from media. Like, it was coming from every which way. And so it's like, at what point can we stand firm in who we are? And I think a lot of the privilege that exists between like black men, men in general, cishet women, like, we don't have those luxuries often because it's who we are. And so we have to kind of take, well, as long as he don't beat me up, fine, we can be, you know, or as long as they don't bash me, it's fine. Like, I've had people literally say, hey, oh, I respect you, bro, but if you get married to a dude, I can't come to your wedding. Or, hey, bro, like, you know, I'm cool with this, but you can't bring no God to my crib. Or I'm cool with this, but, you know, I can't really. So you can honor me, again, when I'm passing enough, when I'm palatable enough, when I'm neutral enough. But when I'm in my full truth, there's question marks. But again, do I exist within this, like, when we go, is this on an island somewhere? You want me to kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like, what do you want us to do?
Right. And that, like, hearing you say that, like, that's honestly one of the first times that I've heard, like, that being said or explained that way. And this is another reason why I think it's important. Like, the point that you made about you not representing all gay men, obviously, right? But the point that I'm making is that when we don't have these conversations with at least one, you know, like at least one gay black man, like, we are doing ourselves a disservice.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying we should stop at one. I'm saying at least open your mind up to having conversations with other demographics outside of straight black men. Because you're like, one of the main things that I try to teach on the page is how people, like, critical thinking. We get on social media, we're fed a lot of stuff. We talk to people, we're fed a lot of stuff. We go out, we watch TV and all these different things. We're fed a lot of things. But if we're not sitting there and challenging those ideas on a consistent basis, then at that point, you're really just becoming a zombie to whatever it is that you see. And this is one of the main things with critical thinking is pulling in other viewpoints and other perspectives to form your own thoughts about what is going on or what you perceive. And so like, yeah, like, man, like I just think more of these conversations are necessary. I think more straight black men need to talk to gay black men. And I think there's a point that you made is very important that I talked about on my story as well. When in our society, in our community, as a straight black man, when we see a gay black man, the first thing we think is, oh, he's gay. It's not he's black. It's not he's a man. It's, oh, he's gay. Like we go straight into sexuality. And that's what I was talking about, is like a lot of times, like I feel like one of the big parts of the divide is that we are not being compassionate enough or sitting and allowing ourselves to see a gay black man as a black man first. Because if we were to do that, then it's like, okay, that's the homie. That's the homie. He just happens to be gay. And now it breaks down that initial barrier where it's like, damn, like I don't even know if I want to talk to them or blah, blah, blah. Because it's like, that's a black man, I'm a black man. That is something that we share in common. But it's just somehow that just flies away. We just seem to miss that whole point. And we were talking on Zoom before we had this conversation. We were talking, you talk to some of your bros and you're like, yo, we have some of the same shared experiences. At the end of the day, you're a black man just like I'm a black man. There are so many people. Yeah, there's so many things we can relate to that we like. But yeah, go ahead.
I think we have to just, again, give people room to like exist. Because I think we think that masculinity is exclusive to straightness. We think femininity is exclusive to queerness. We think if someone is queer or trans, we should know it. And it's like, then you feel bamboozled if you didn't. And it's like, you know, because again, you associate these things to this one specific archetype. So like a person walking up to me and is like, hey, bro, you know, what up, dog? And what's up? Let's up? You know, let's have a conversation. And then 20 minutes later, you realize I'm gay. Now it's like, hold. But why does that matter? We just share so many commonalities. We had a whole energy, a whole vibe. And now my queerness, because again, a lot of people have other queerness. Or like in the trans experience, it's like, because you didn't know she was born differently how she identifies, now it becomes a whole different conversation about how. But again, like, why is that necessary? And the real conversation to be asked people in the comments as well is like, how much of a person do you need to know to be cool with them? Like, what's necessary? Like, is their religion necessary? Is their gender necessary? Is their family experience necessary? Is their health background? Like, what's necessary to really know? Because even when you think about a friend, right? I want you to be a good person. What makes you a good person is beyond me. I want you to be good. Mm-hmm. Whether you're good because trauma, whether you're good because you just happen to be that way, good because of worship, good because of music, whatever makes you good, I want you to be good. It's very unnecessary for me to know what's happening in your biology. It's very unnecessary for me to know what's happening in your experience. You know what I'm saying? But I think a lot of us feel like I need to know X, Y, Z before I can honor your experiences, before I can be cool with you, before I can respect you. And a lot of us cannot respect what we don't understand. Even when it comes, I didn't come here to preach. I felt that one in my spirit somewhere. Y'all heard, did y'all put that in my spirit?
Yeah.
I felt that one in my, you know. And I say this about boundaries often. I don't care if you don't understand my boundary, honor it or keep it moving. Mm-hmm. Hey guys, like I don't really like when people come into my house and wear the color red. Whether you get it or not, either don't wear red or you can't come into my house. That's outlandish, but that's reality how life works. Like, either respect the boundary, because you don't have to ever. I don't understand the trans experience. I'm not trans either. I don't get it. I don't have to get it. I have to respect them though. I don't have to understand everything that deserves to feel to maintain onus. And I think again, patriarchy has given people, especially cishet people, a lot of power. Mm-hmm. More power than people think that they have. A lot of people think if I don't like it, it shouldn't exist, Lil Boosie. If I don't like it, it shouldn't exist, the baby. If I don't like it, it shouldn't exist. The names can go on. You know what I mean? So it becomes this whole conversation about like, I don't appreciate it, so get rid of it. Opposed to, I don't understand it. And mind you, this might be unpopular. You don't have to be my friend. You ain't never heard me beg for a friend. You got to respect me. Those are two different things. A lot of queer folks are not saying invite us to the things. We're saying let us be us. Like stop perpetuating this gay agenda idea whenever we exist in our fullness. Pass the collection, because I'm serious.
Yeah. Nah, I'm telling you, man. Like, this is why I was like, yo, this is gonna be a dope conversation. Because from the Zoom, I was like, damn, like, I'm learning a lot. I think this would be so valuable for the community. And then here you go again, preaching. So, oh man, like, man.
Because
And
it affects all of us in a very big way, bro. It just affects all of us in such a way, and I think like a lot of us have put like compassion and empathy on the backs of queer people, but it's not just us. Like everybody's like, I don't understand pronouns. It's unnecessary. I identify with my biology. I'm a cis person. However, I still see it necessary to show compassion for those who are not. And I think it's very interesting that we have made it seem like the only person who should be understanding of language, only person who should clock how to respect and honor people are queer folks. And that's not a way to get ahead. Like if you want to be a decent person, because reality is the real deal is a lot of people don't care until it hits your family. Like a lot of people were comfortable in homophobia until it was your kid, and now they're being bullied. So now you want to champion the movement, or so is your sister, or was your brother, or was your whoever, and now it's a thing. But if we can stop it before it even gets to that point.
right. You know what's so interesting about this whole conversation? The way I kind of think about this is I think about this in terms of like the Black Lives Matter movement and like how we were always like, well, if white people could just talk to black people, they would understand how we feel. And white people don't care unless it's one of their black friends and blah, blah, blah. And then we look at internally in the black community, we look at specifically black men. And it's like what you said, we talk about straight black men and then other black men. And it's kind of the same dynamic to me. It's like, yo, all the LGBTQ community is saying is exactly what you just said. You just have to allow us to exist. Like, stop being homophobic, stop spewing hatred, stop worrying so much about our experience, and just allow us to exist. But it's like on our side, we're hearing all of the, well, it's to demasculate the black man agenda, and they want to show our black men gay media, and they want to condition the black man to be gay and be black. I'm just like, oh my God. I
And
just
the
don't.
goalpost keeps moving.
And I just don't get. Like that, I have a hard time having conversations about that because for me, it just doesn't make sense to me when it's said. Because what you talked about when we had the Zoom conversation was, does the inverse make sense? Where you said, can we condition someone to be straight?
Yeah.
And in all my conversations that I've had with gay black men, it's always been, hey, I really fought this, but this is what it turned out to be. Like I just got a DM today where someone was saying like, hey, listen, I was praying to take my bias away. I was praying for it to go away, but this is just who I am, and I had to come to terms with that. And I was just like, yo, we're not having these conversations. One, we're not having these conversations, and we're making it so much harder for y'all to just exist. And you talked about compassion. Like that is the main thing at the root of all of this. Mm-hmm. Is if we can just sit there and say, yo, that's a black man, that's a human. Let me have compassion. Let me try to understand before I impose my views. Things will be much better. But a lot of people just go straight into, nah, that's wrong. God said that's wrong.
And vice versa. I think that's an important part of the conversation too, right? Like cishet people act as if they're the only person that has to accept something. Like you're not perfect coming to me to accept me, right? Like this is almost like if I didn't put you in a position to accept or deny me, but they just understand that because I am simply straight, I'm coming to you perfect. I'm unflawed. I'm unscathed. I'm straight. So I have a VIP space in heaven. I have the direct line to God. And it's like, well, I have to, the same way I want you to learn me, the same way I need to learn you. Like you're not unbeknownst to what it means to learn someone. Like that's not only the onus of learning somebody is not only on queer people. Like get to know me as a person. Yes, I am gay and as a part of who I am for sure. Likewise in my blackness, likewise my spirituality. But there's so many details of who I am for you to then learn. You know what I'm saying? But it seems like oh, okay, well he's gay, so let me throw him a bone. No one's asking for bones. Like no one. Like I want it to be very clear. I'm not asking for no bones from nobody. Like you know what I mean? And it's this consistent conversation of how do I and where do I and but he and all these little things that shouldn't matter and that continue to matter. And I guess I get why. But yeah, to your earlier point as well, like who would then choose to be marginalized? Like who would say, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and you know what, I'm straight right now. I'm gonna go ahead and be gay though. I think gay would really do him in. I think being gay would really be. I can see that for me. You know what I mean? And like the average person, I don't know everybody, but the average person, I can almost bet my bottom dollar is not doing that.
Right. Because I actually see comments, or I've seen things where people were like, gay black men would say, "Listen, I honestly wouldn't have wished this on myself, just because of the way society is, right?" And it hurts me when I see stuff like that, because basically what they're saying is I'm struggling with my identity because of how hard it is to exist on Earth right now.
Because it's an additive. Like I think what people don't understand is the other things don't stop. Like my blackness wasn't on pause for me to figure out my queerness. Right, like so I was still a black man who then was a black gay man, who then was a black gay man in urban areas, school, grades, pressures, and like all the things that you experience, I experienced those plus my queerness. And it's like I think also what hurts a little bit more from black gay men is when we're judged by black men, black straight men, you know what it's like to be dehumanized and devalued for things you cannot change. Like you know what it's like. So I get it. For white people, I understand a little bit more, right? Like you don't really understand what it's like. For all the things people don't like you for are things that essentially you can adjust. If you're poor, you make more money. If you can't dress, you can buy new clothes. But if you're black, what do?
Right.
You can't be unblack. And so you know what it's like to be watched, followed, devalued for your blackness, but then you turn around and do the same thing for their queerness, something that they too cannot change. But again, you think you have the rubric on what it means to be human when you are straight. You think that you know that nobody could possibly be born this way. You couldn't possibly be born that way, because that's not how God works. That's not how I was born. And the way I was born, the way people were born, because I'm indicative of people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know who made all these superb humans. God was busy that generation, clearly. But I'm just confused. Like, so many people say things that are so, like, if they would step outside of self and hear them, you would be like, wait a minute, do you hear what you just said? Like, well, I like women. Okay, congrats. I like men. And you can't, and I think also you can't bully me out of that. Even for me, I was gonna say this earlier, like, taking gender out of conversations can make you go closer to friendships. I've had conversations with my straight boys about all the things. There's been no lines drawn about sex, about relationships, about all, because gender is unnecessary. Hey, listen, y'all, my partner is grumpy. Hey, have you tried this? People feel things, right? So it's not so much like, oh, he's gay, I can't touch it. The same, my brother is straight. He asked me for so much advice for him and his girl, and likewise to me. It's not about this, it's about people. If she's sad, do something she enjoys. If he is sad, follow suit.
Mm-hmm.
But we have preached this agenda that because he's gay, I automatically don't get it. He gay, never mind, I don't get it. All right, never mind. We can be cool, play the same sports, go to the same bars, like the same drinks, watch the same shows. I think I'm gay, never mind. I knew you, can't anymore. And it's like, well, how did that end so fast?
Mm-hmm. Man. And you talked about something earlier. You talked about like there's like this fear of the unknown, right? When it comes to the gay community, and I think that's so true. I think that when it comes to straight black men, it's like in the future, what will the future look like? If
Family?
But not even just that, but just like, I hate to use the allow word just based on what you just told me, but let's just entertain it right now. If we allow men to be gay, what will the future for our community look like? Right? Like, are we gonna, I guess when I start asking questions, this is like, what do you think it's gonna look like? Are you saying that all heterosexual men are gonna eventually turn gay? Are you saying that we won't have enough couples to not repopulate? Like all of those kind of things. And I think that's what we like. When I think about the fear of the unknown, like I think that drives a lot of the fear, which is the belief that by allowing gay black men, we are somehow stifling our community's growth.
So how are you guys gonna not allow it? What's the plan there?
and this is and this is what I'm trying to understand. Like, I just honestly don't get it.
Is it to shame people into a closet? Is it to do a fear of hell that will hopefully switch them to straightness? Like, I'm just curious, like, what is the inverse? And on top of that, you don't need, the real big thing right now is you don't need relationships to create life. And I don't know why this is necessary for me to even say it, because I think a lot of us were not born out of a relationship. We're born wait, what can we say on here? Can I talk? What can I say on your life? What can we say on your lives? Can we say
No,
things?
go ahead, talk.
You were made out of nut going in a vagina.
Yes.
That's how you got here. Like that it's not, it was, no one had to be in love to create life. And a lot of queer people are having children. Like that, like I think again that's just another lazy stab at trying to erase what it means to be queer. But no, most of us want kids. I hope to God I have kids. Like no one's not gonna populate the world. I think maybe now the family dynamic that you're used to may shake a little bit, and so we can have that conversation, right? If you want to see husband and wife, if you think it takes two opposite genders to raise a child, we can have that kind of conversation separately. But in terms of populating the universe, we're not gonna. I can't. I can't. It's too late.
Right. So let's have the family dynamic conversation, because
I know you don't want to have that conversation. I knew I shouldn't have said it. Okay, come on. I'm listening.
Because honestly, like, I just at this point, like, I just want to be educated, right? Like, because a lot of times we have these kind of conversations, and I don't know what to even tell my friends. Like, they're like, "Whoa, are we gonna allow two gay black men to raise a son and a daughter? What is that gonna look like?" Blah 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 blah. And I'm just like, honestly, I don't know. Honestly, I don't like. What do you like? I guess what I'm asking is, like, what does that look like for you?
We don't know.
Okay.
I think that's another part of the pot, right? A lot of us are figuring these things out in the midst of all this, right? Like a lot of us have, because again, we weren't fortunate to see queer dynamics either. A lot of us have never seen what family looks like. So we're just gonna see if hopefully love is enough, right? But we don't really know what two men or two women having kids, because a lot of us haven't seen it. I've never seen two men, have kids like in person, right? I've seen it like, via like Instagram in some ways, right? I think also like people, it's just funny how people are comfortable with like unloving homes, toxic homes, single parent homes, like all these other details before they will then welcome the idea of a queer one. That to me is just a very interesting concept. But to answer, I can't really answer your question, right? Like a lot of us are trying to figure out we're still ironing out a lot of these things in the midst of a lot of hatred, in the midst of comparing things to heteronormative society, like in the midst of, you know what I mean? Just trying to figure out where in which we can position ourselves while then also maintaining safety. Like, I mean, I don't think a lot of people are that bold to approach me in person. But like, it could be but a lot of people are bold in comments. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't advise it, but do you? But I'm saying, like, a lot of people are bold in comments though, right? And so a lot of people are saying, like, who are queer advocates, you do put yourself in harm's way. I've been in spaces with a lot of my friends who have experienced hate crimes. I've been in places where they didn't serve me and the guy I was on a date with at a Waffle House. She never came back. You know what I'm saying? So like, these things are happening, and it's like, what do you then say to those who are trying to figure it out? Where can I be? Okay, naturally, Ruthie, you caught what I was talking about. But like, what do you say? What do you do? And I think a lot of us are also asking for, in the midst of us figuring it out, create safe spaces. Create a comfortable space for us to figure that thing out. Let us figure out what family dynamics are. But at the root of it all, don't you want to honor someone's humanity? Don't you want to honor someone's right to choose? Don't you want to honor you know what I mean? Like the overarching question, even if we don't understand what it's going to be, we're trying to figure it out. And it's very difficult in the midst of bigotry, hatred, homophobia. Like, it's tough. And you're making it tougher.
I think you said something really important about giving y'all the space to be able to figure these things out, because like you said, you don't know. And also now, in hindsight, I don't mean to be hindsight Henry now, but I don't know how I would have expected you to know when you have, like, we haven't seen it. Like, I don't know, like, I don't know if I expected you to have like groups where you guys talk.
Well, in our last meeting, we decided that.
Right. Yeah. Like, I don't know what I expected. Right. So yeah, I definitely think what you're saying makes a lot of sense. And then it also, like, it reminds me why it's important to be inclusive in the space.
Yeah. I think at the risk of sounding like we're all in this together, like until we're all free, none of us are really all that free. Like it's just a true statement. You know what I mean? I think often when we talk about homophobia and we talk about the fear of queerness and all these things, it's not as siloed or as individual as we think it is. And so within that though, it then creates a lot of policing of people who shouldn't be policed. Like no one should, essentially, right? But then it does trickle down to cishet men. A lot of the men who are talking about they wanted to eliminate queer voices and blah blah, and or who bash people for what is to be queer. Like it affects you. I remember I was young. Gay wasn't indicative of the same genders. It was indicative of things being uncool, right? Like we used to say, "Man, shoes are gay." Now, how shoes can be gay, I don't know. But gay was just a word that was synonymous with things you just did not like. You know what I'm saying? Man, that's gay. Man, that hat gay. Yeah, you know what I mean. And so, like within that though, like again, we have to dissect what gay means socially, right? Like, what are we then saying about people, right? Like, are we saying if gay is synonymous with wrong, and if gay is synonymous with emotions, and gay is synonymous with femininity, and gay and all these other attributes, and then tell straight guys who they can't be, and now you're rejecting self. Now you're rejecting who you not, because reality is everybody feels. Reality, everybody goes through spaces of confusion. May not be sexually, but it goes, yeah, everybody goes through a lot of the same experiences. But if you are attributing to one group of people, it then makes it harder for you to do the things that you essentially are going to have to do because you're human. Right. So it affects everybody. Yeah, in a big way. Huge. it's this for me. It's this moment.
Like I don't know. That's just how I think, man. Like when I'm just trying to process everything that I'm hearing, and then also like going through comments. Deshaun said something that I was thinking about, where he said something like, let me read it actually instead of trying to remember.
Yeah.
Like, say if someone has two moms, that doesn't mean they won't gravitate to have a male role model in their life that they will make their father figure or representation of what a man should be. Right. And I think that's an interesting, thought, because we talk about like masculinity and femininity as far as like all humans having both. Right. And the whole, like in our conversation, we talked about how a lot of the thought is that, well, if you're a straight black man, that means you're masculine. You don't have any femininity in you. And then if you're like a gay black man, you're strictly like feminine. And I was thinking about the two moms example. I was thinking like, well, would the child even need to gravitate outside of the house to find someone that is representing masculine energy if one of the moms identifies more with their masculine, and I think these are some of the, I don't know, I just found that kind of interesting. And then also what I wanted to talk about was the fact that in my household, my mom wasn't around a lot, right? Not because she was a deadbeat or anything like that. She just worked a lot. And for me growing up, like I grew up basically with just my dad. My dad is an African dad, not the most affectionate, like I've hugged him a few times when I haven't seen him in a while, but not the most affectionate on a day-to-day basis, right?
Yeah.
And growing up, that kind of taught me that, like, I wasn't going to receive physical love in a home, and then it led to all these different things and, like, my relationships and stuff like that. But in therapy, I started to learn kind of what a mother's love looks like, because I got, like, a black woman therapist, and we started to have some of these conversations that I wish I had with my mom and all these different things, right? And so I think, like, to go back to Deshaun's point, like, honestly, I was thinking, like, if we were to normalize therapy in our community, I don't even see why this would be that big of an issue. Like, if your child feels like they're missing something, find a therapist that can help. Like, and I'm not going to sit here and say that that's the therapy is the solution to everything, but I think it can definitely be a big help. And like we talked about, like, just it takes a village to raise a child. Like, yeah, like, I know I haven't personally only been raised by my mom and my dad. Like, I've had multiple teachers that have helped to play my mother role or father role growing up.
Let me ask you this, because you said it, and I don't know if you just was saying as an example. When it comes to a relationship amongst queer people, like two women or two men, do you think one is going to be more higher or lower on a masculine scale, and one's going to be higher or lower?
Okay. Yeah, I know that, like, two women can be more feminine. I know that, like, some can potentially be higher on the scale or not. I'm just saying, and just in the example.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, just that example, right? Like,
yeah.
But yeah, I was just thinking about it. Just wanted to kind of talk about it and just see what your like. I guess what your thoughts were.
You know, I don't necessarily know this it's necessary to have in your home, right? Because again, we've seen people who have been reared in homes that are only. Likewise to me, my mom was an inactive mother, and so I was raised by my dad primarily. And my dad is one of the most empathetic, compassionate, sensitive, emotionally open people I've ever met, and he's a man, right? And so I think likewise, I don't necessarily know that it's necessary within the house, but I think also we can't act like people are not going to run into masculinity. Like you're going to see it, whether it's a teacher, an uncle, like you're going to experience it. People make it seem like if someone's queer, that's going to be them against the world, right? Like I'm going to put my kid in this cult of queerness that doesn't let them leave. Like they're still going to be open to seeing other people from other spaces. And I think like, but once again, a lot of these things are just like, and not to be whatever, but like ignorance because you don't know, because and you don't want to know. You haven't been around enough people to understand because you don't think that. But even like to my parents' generation, right? Like they thought like I would be with someone who was very effeminate, whether I choose that person or not. They just automatically okay. If you're a little bit higher on the masculine side, then in turn you depict someone who's lower on the masculine side, right? But again, that was indicative of them not having any queer friends, so they don't know how it goes. All they know is what they believe to be the dynamics of straightness, right? Like there's a man and woman. Or like this idea of like a bunch of different factors that go, and we internalize some of that in the queer community, I'm not gonna lie, but there is this very big question mark around things because you don't know, because you haven't welcomed them into your spaces. And I think likewise, like I have, like honestly, my boys, like, but honestly, you gotta be real secure to hang with me. You know what I mean? Cause we gonna be friends. Like I'm not really in the business of like not being, you know what I mean? Like let's, cause obviously I'm like,
You didn't say anything, but I got exactly what you were. It's so funny you didn't say a thing, but I got exactly what you were saying.
That's all I needed.
I understood it perfectly. I get it.
We're good then. That's all I needed.
And one thing that you said that was interesting was us having this concept that like you being more masculine means that you have to find someone that's more feminine. And I realized that what you were saying is very true. Like even growing up, my thought process was like, okay, well, if this is how relationships work with the inside the LGBTQ community, we have a gay black man. If he's super masculine, then he then finds a feminine gay black man, and they create a relationship. But that perspective is skewed based on our thought process of what relationships look like. We're still imposing our views and our beliefs on your experiences just because we just don't know any better and we're not having this conversation. And this is the first time I've actually heard it. Like I've actually heard someone say that or like challenge that thought of mine, because honestly, up until now, like obviously I've seen like two feminine women, but I haven't really seen relationships with like two masculine men. So I didn't even know like that was it. Like I didn't even know that was a thing or that existed. So I appreciate you, like, I guess, breaking that down for me and helping me to understand that.
But it's often like, even I used to always say the same thing, right? Like I think I could have benefited from somebody who was like masculine, quote unquote, and queer, right? Mm-hmm. Or in a relationship growing up. But there very well might have been somebody who was masculine and queer, and I received them as friends. Because once again, we think that we would know, right? A lot of people say, "I've never seen a trans person," because you think you would know if you had, because you might have saw somebody who you saw and thought they were a woman and not about your life. Because there's this assumption that if I saw somebody who was gay, I would know. So when you saw two dudes walking side by side, you would figure they were homeboys. So I ain't never seen two guys who were masculine, but they very well could have been in a relationship. You know what I mean? Like I've been dating somebody walking down the street and they think it's my homeboy, and it's like, what up? And meanwhile, we whole time kissing in the mouth. You know what I mean? And
yo, you got me thinking now. Like you got me thinking.
And here we are.
Maybe I have seen it. I just didn't notice it, right? Like
you thought you know. Likewise to women, we assume they're friends. They could have very well been in a relationship, but we just think that we would know. But again, I think also is a hit. Like it doesn't really matter, right? Because we kept moving. Right. You kept it pushing. You kept minding your business. You went about your day. You got your sandwich. You went home. You know. So I think more people should take that same luxury. They just stick to what you know. Stick to where you are. Like, be present. And I'm not saying that you should ignore people. And I'm not saying that people aren't your business. I think community requires people to be your business. I believe people are my business. If I see somebody who is in need, I don't have to know you to make that part of my business for that moment. You know what I mean? I think that's how we build community. But at the same time, I do think, like, back to my question earlier, like, what is necessary to really feel like you can care for a person? Like, a lot of things, especially in a friendly way. Now, if we're dating, I want to know all that is you. I'm just being honest. You got to tell me. But, like, if we're friends, I really don't need to know a lot of things that I think people feel like we have to know to then call you great, or to then honor you, or to then be in fellowship with you. Yeah. Like, honestly, I don't even know your name. And we're having a whole hour-long conversation. I don't think you ever told me your name. What's your name, bro?
Well, people call me Kizza, but my real name is Kofi.
Oh, nice to meet you, Kofi. See what I'm saying? And it's always ask me, oh, that's a good brother. That's a good dude. And I didn't even know your name. So names aren't even necessary to know a person.
Right. Nah, that's true. Because I've had conversations with a lot of different people. And I was like, yo, at the end of the conversation, I was like, yo, we never exchanged names. But damn, that person was dope. Like, damn, that person was dope. For real. Wow. Nah, damn, that's bad on me. I didn't even introduce myself when we had the Zoom conversation. My bad.
Oh, yeah, damn, we sure did do that, huh?
Yeah.
I'm Obio.
Obio.
Nice to meet you, bro.
Nice to meet you too, bro. Nice to meet you too.
Thank you for taking the time out to listen to this episode. I truly, truly, truly appreciate you. So I really hope you got some valuable insight. And I hope I helped in some capacity, whether it be through the platform or the podcast. If you like to support for free, you can like this video if you're on YouTube, or you can share and subscribe regardless of what platform you're listening to the episode on. If you like to support monetarily, now we're talking, you can go to shop.expressyourselfblackman.com and get yourself some merch. We have a hoodie, we have sweatsuits, we have shirts, we have hats. We also have an ebook on how to heal, where I discuss breakups, depression and suicidal ideations, anxiety, and attachment styles. I go in depth about my story with dealing with all of those things, and then I explain how to heal in an easy guide. It's easy to follow. It's easy to go from reading to implementing. So if you're interested in that as well, it's in the shop. The book is called From Hurting to Healing, A Black Man's Guide to Feeling. So consider supporting monetarily, but regardless of how you support, I appreciate you. I hope you have a great day.
Sometimes I know you feel like you ain't got nobody to speak to. A shoulder to lean on somebody you could preach to. No, you need to hear it, my brother, I love you. We got way too much to live for. We got way too much to live for. When we get it all, we want
like
more.
you lost another one.
When we get it, still we want more. I know it's hard, but you just gotta push on through. Only brody always tryna bring you. If you ever feeling down, bro, you're never alone. If you ever feeling down, you can always hit my phone. If you ever feeling down, bro, you're never alone. Okay, hey, I'm your shoulder to lean on. Express yourself, distress yourself. I don't wanna talk about me, tell me how you feeling well. Since you know that you alive, but this earth feeling